right, Bubba. Start cleaning those tires up. Don't green this time. Remember, they fan out down there, so protect that bottom. Sunday drive. All right, boss man. Face car's off. Be ready. All right, bud. Be ready. Gas that bitch up. Ready. Green flag. Green.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Inside Pass on WSIC. I am Radio Miller Tom Baker, sitting over in the Silman seat. Today we've got a pretty big show on tap today. Our guest in the next segment is Melon Man, Ross Chastain.
Yes.
So we have to talk to him about everything going on. He's a busy man lately. He's got a lot of rides.
He's always been busy.
He's been doing. I feel like he's probably the one driver that has the most experience just in terms of not being able to practice and qualify, because you see him in the truck race, and then he's in the Xfinity race, and then he runs Cup race sometimes, and so he's a busy man. So
he gets a cardio workout all weekend long, running from garage area to garage area to garage area.
I wonder if Haley gave him any tips on driving straight, since Haley was running his dragster the other night. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So we're going to have a breakdown of the weekend's festivities at Atlanta, as well as the IndyCar race at Texas. And we'll talk about all of the latest news in the world of motorsports. We'll start with the Truck Series. We'll go through all three of the NASCAR series, and we'll swing back over to IndyCar a little bit later on. Grant Enfinger was the big winner on Saturday in the Truck Series race. After winning no races in all of 2019, Tom, he now has 2 victories on the season and doing pretty good in that ThorSport truck.
You know, he really is. And, I wonder, it's always interesting to me when you get one person from within a team. It's almost like, the luck just goes a little bit more that way than it does for the others for a while, and then it kind of rebounds back. We've seen speed out of all the ThorSport trucks, but, again, it's kind of like Brad Keselowski in the Cup Series. I feel like Grant has sort of been in the right place at the right time to take advantage of others' misfortune.
It's true.
And that's anymore with the competition we have in all 3 of the National Series classes. It's just as important to be in the right place at the right time as it is to be the fastest car, because the fastest car or truck doesn't always win.
That's true. And he ended up winning the regular season championship last year, having not won a single race, and made it all the way, I think, to the final 6 or final 8 before he was eliminated from contention. But his teammate, Johnny Sauter, basically suffered a different fate. He ended up being disqualified for some tire issues at the post-season or post-race inspection. So he ended up finishing dead last on the night. Christian Eckes finished 3rd. Ty Gilliland, who we had on the show last week, ended up finishing 4th. So he had a good run in the front row motorsports truck. Zane Smith ended up 5th. Our guest today, Ross Chastain, was 6th. Derek Kraus was 7th. Brett Moffitt, Ben Rhodes, and Stuart Friesen rounded out the top 10. So a good race. Again, we talk about since NASCAR's come back from the coronavirus shutdown, all the races have been great. Atlanta was really no exception. I feel like this was probably on the lower end of the good races compared to where we've been, but this is only the second time we've been to a big track since we've come back, so you can't expect a whole lot.
Well, exactly. I agree. Yeah.
It's one of those things. So in other Truck Series news, the Eldora truck race is still up in the air. Bob Pockris posted a tweet last week saying that he had reached out to Eldora Speedway. Robert Slack, who is basically the director of Tony Stewart's track, said that they're working with NASCAR. The problem is that, which we talked about on Thursday's Motorsports Madness show, a lot of the standalone events are not going to happen this year because they don't get the same TV money that they get from other from like when NASCAR runs or whatever.
Right.
The TV money isn't the same when you go to Iowa and Mid-Ohio and tracks like that. So the standalone events that Xfinity and trucks run are going to be very, very difficult to make happen because you really need the fan attendance for the purse money and things like that to happen. And with everything going on right now, a lot of states are just not letting that happen. But NASCAR knows the importance of running the race at Eldora. It's the most popular truck race all year long. It's the one that sells out every year, 35,000 people or whatever. So NASCAR really wants to try to fit the Eldora race in somewhere. So they're giving the state of Ohio and a few, of the people around the Eldora Speedway a few more weeks to try to figure out if there's a way to get the fans in there before they cancel it outright, because they know the importance of having that race held at Eldora.
Yeah, and I mean, we've still got, again, there's still those states that are just not fully open, and some of them aren't going to be for a while, and it's kind of been a challenge all the way around. Yeah. It would be a shame if that truck race didn't happen, because it's probably the one truck race all year that everybody looks most forward to. And, so hopefully things can be worked out so we can make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Over in the Xfinity side of things, AJ Allmendinger started P30 on the field and ended up with his first career oval win. That's kind of a shock to me because you think about how much AJ, how much time he spent in the Cup Series, but he's only got 4 wins in all of his NASCAR career, and they're all on road courses until now, finally winning at Atlanta.
Yeah, I won in an oval. He was just so excited. That was great. I mean, that team this year is starting to fire on all cylinders. All 3 cars are competing for wins. Justin Haley has improved tremendously. Ross Chastain's always at the front challenging. And, to see AJ go out and do what he did the other day was incredible. And I don't think it's going to be the last time we see him up front. That team is just... they're doing it right now, and they're championship contenders. Obviously, AJ is not because he's not running the full schedule, but I think both Ross and Justin Haley are, bona fide championship contenders in that series.
Yeah, so AJ Allmendinger, because he won, is eligible for the next Dash for Cash race, which is at Homestead this coming weekend. He's not going to run the Saturday race, but he is going to run the Sunday race, which is the race that is for the Dash for Cash prize money. So he wasn't originally scheduled to run Homestead, but because he's eligible for it, Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice was like, hey, let's just bring a car to Homestead. Let's go.
Do it.
Let's do it. So I think a lot of people would love to see AJ run the full season next year, which I think, based on the text conversations I've had with Chris Rice, that is a plan that they want to put in place, is they would like to have another car on track for AJ next year in a full-time capacity, varying sponsorship and things like that. So that they're gaining traction as he gets better, better and better, and starts winning more and more races. That might actually happen. Some of his current sponsors are looking to maybe add some more races to their resumes next year. So if he doesn't get a full season sponsorship, I feel like he'll run at least a majority of the races and try to at least run for an owner's championship, if nothing else. But I know that Chris and Matt and everybody are committed to having AJ run that car for as long as he wants to run it, and for as long as sponsorship happens. They really want him in that car.
That team has so much personality between those 3 drivers. You got Ross, you got Justin, and you got AJ. They're all passionate. They're all energetic. They're all slightly different from each other in terms of the personality, but I just think that is one of the most entertaining teams in all of NASCAR to follow. Sure. And it just makes it fun, and it makes it easy to be happy for them when they have success.
And they have an amazing ringleader in Chris Rice as well to make the whole
Yeah.
circus go around.
Yep.
If you've never seen, they have a Facebook Live show that they do called Roundtable-ish. That they do with it's hosted by Chris Rice, but he has Haley on there, Ross on there, AJ on there, some of their crew chiefs and people. Carly's even been on there before, their PR girl. So it's a fantastic show if you ever check it out. It's on Wednesdays at like 5:30 in the afternoon. So we are going to step off to a break. When we come back, speaking of Kaulig Racing, we will have Kaulig Racing driver Ross Chastain, the Melon Man, on our strutmasters.com hotline when we return on the Inside Pass of WSIC.
This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Kannapolis turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
Randy Marion's the king of price. Go check out the great deals on new and pre-owned vehicles. Whatever your needs are, Randy Marion Ford of Statesville's got you covered. Go see him today. You'll be glad you did. Randy Marion Ford, I-77, exit 49B. Visit randymarionford.com.
For WSIC, I'm Fox 46 meteorologist Nick Koser. Those showers and storms come to an end overnight. A low of 71. 84 tomorrow with a 60% chance for afternoon and evening showers and storms. Then quieter Thursday, mostly cloudy, 82. Friday, partly sunny, 85. From the Neighborhood Stormwatch Forecast Center, I'm meteorologist Nick Koser. Be sure to catch Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane today on Fox 46 News at 5.
Right now is the right time to update your home office. And the place to start is getting rid of that flimsy plastic mat under your office chair. Step up to a glass chair mat by Vitraza. I'm George Pardo, president of Vitraza. We've been supplying high-quality glass chair mats made right here in the U.S. for over a decade. They're super strong and never dent. And wait until you feel what it's like to have your chair glide on a smooth glass chair mat. They're beautiful too. They completely step up the look of your office. We now have 18 glass chair mat sizes in stock, ready to ship. If standard sizes don't fit, check out our custom design options. Shop today at Vitraza.com and save 10% with code WRIGHT. Here's our website again, V as in Victor, ITRAZZA.com, and remember, save 10% with code WRIGHT. Vitraza.com.
Financial stuff, it's so confusing. Where do you even start?
With a trusted partner who knows the options and can understand your individual needs. That partner is Joshua Dobie from the North Main Financial Group in Cornelius and host of North Main Financial, Saturdays at noon on WSIC.
Hello, this is Joshua Dobie, and I'm excited to share financial education while securing your financial future. Whether it's stocks, bonds, life insurance, partnerships, or anything else, we're here to help. Join me Saturdays at noon and visit us at northmainfinancial.com.
Hey, this is Tracy Austin, the host of the Mental Fitness Matters show on WSIC. If you are a parent out there and your child is struggling with focus and attention in the classroom or at home, we may have a solution for you. At New Mentality, we are able to see what the brain is doing in real time and provide solutions for you and your family without the use of medication. Contact us today at 704-799-1270.
I'm Chase Elliott, and you're listening to the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass on WSIC. Thank you so much for listening to us. If you're listening to us on the radio in the greater Lake Norman area, thank you so much for joining us, tuning into your car radio or at home, wherever you may be. Or if you're listening to us on the web at WSICFM.com, thank you so much for listening to us on the web. Last week I mentioned that our website, the Inside Pass, or InsidePassLive.com, has a new feature that I forgot to tell you guys about. If you go to the website, there's going to be two little boxes that pop up that kind of float around the screen. I apologize in advance. That's not my technology. But one of them is a calendar of the upcoming guests, so you don't have to scroll over to the coming up list. It's right there. It has the next 4 weeks of guests on it, so you don't have to wonder who's coming up on the show. And then the other box is basically like a live chat kind of feature where if you have a message or if you have something, suggestion, question, whatever, if you tap on that box and send us your question, it comes straight to me. So I can answer it within moments. So that's pretty cool. And I know Race Chaser Radio also has a new website that's about to
We do.
launch.
It is up.
It is up now.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It launched about 3-4 weeks ago. We're still adding to it. We had a couple of cool new features that we're working on for it, but it's up. RaceChaserOnline.com, RaceChaserMedia.com, or RaceChaserRadio.com. All three of them get you to the same place, and you can get access to all of Race Chaser's shows on demand from the site. And pretty soon you'll be able to listen to the live shows as well. We just haven't quite got that feature figured out yet, so we're working on the technology.
I believe the Inside Pass Live website has our show streaming live on the website and in real time now. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how that works because I can't be on my website at the same time. But anyway, if you scroll on to the upcoming guest list, you will see I updated it yesterday, and I told Tom as well. We have a guest coming on in July. July 21st to be exact. His name is Jay Gerst. He is the writer of an autobiography that's coming out in September, from what I'm told, called Racer. It's John Andretti's autobiography that he actually wrote, but with John's approval and John's stories and stuff, he wrote the book. And I'm excited to have him on. I'm going to try to get him to spend this a whole hour with us, just talking about the book and giving us some stories about the book and things like that. He's a historian that has spent most of his writing career writing about the Andrettis and writing about the Rutherfords and the Foyts, and he spent most of his career writing about the families of IndyCar racing. So he knows the family inside and out. So it'd be interesting to see his perspective on writing this book with John Andretti's story.
It's I don't think a lot of people realize, because I'm working on the beginnings of my first book.
Yeah, your autobiography as well.
Not mine, but a book. And I've had a couple of mentors that I've been working with just to try and understand what is the process, how long does it take. It takes about 1.5 to 2 years in many cases to write a book from start to finish. And somebody like Jay Gerst that has written so many, and all of them are the same quality. Awesome.
Yeah.
These are not just sort of shallow, basic facts. These books run deep about the history of the people that and it is amazing the amount of time that takes. I have nothing but respect for Jay, and I can't believe that he is actually coming on our show. Honestly, this is going to be one of the best Inside Pass shows we've ever done. And if anybody's listening to this one or watching us, mark July 21st on your calendar. And so at least if you can't hear it live, make sure you know Jay Gers is on that week so you can go back and get the on-demand. You will be, I'm sure this will blow us all away.
Yeah, for sure. The book is scheduled to come out September 1st, but he told me that it's probably going to come out sooner than that. So he's thinking it's probably going to, he's trying to get it to where it coincides maybe with the Indy 500, so it comes out the week of the Indy 500, which would be a really cool, kind of tie-in type thing. So, but a really cool interview, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of the stories about John Andretti's career. So, back to the Xfinity Series while we're waiting on Ross to call. Noah Gragson finished second, continuing his complete just turnaround from last year. Justin Haley finished third. Hemrick was fourth. Jeb Burton, Justin Allgaier, Ross Chastain, Brandon Jones, Chase Briscoe, and Fast Pasta, Anthony Alfredo with another top 10 finish.
What
another driver who needs a full-time ride in the Xfinity Series.
Well, yeah, I want to give some shade to three drivers, two on that list and one that wasn't. The first is Jeb Burton. Amazing job for Jeb. Continues to show that he belongs in an elite ride.
Yep.
And then you mentioned Anthony Alfredo and also Colby Howard, who finished 15th in the JD Motorsports 15 after it was basically, again, like Anthony, a comeback story from problems earlier in the race. Colby is, I think, 4 races into his Xfinity career and already running top 15 and outran all the other JD Motorsports cars. That kid is a South Carolina kid born and raised, and he is a future star in NASCAR. You mark my words that I said that. Colby Howard is going to be a NASCAR Cup star.
A lot of future stars come from JD Motorsports, and I think we have one of them on the line right now.
Absolutely.
He drives for Kaulig Racing now, one of my favorite organizations because Chris Rice is a great friend of mine. But the Melon Man, Ross Chastain, joins us. Good morning, Ross. Thank you so much for taking some time out to join us this morning.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We talked about JD Motorsports and Colby Howard's performance. That's kind of where you started. That's kind of where you made your name, is running for Johnny Davis and the guys over at JD Motorsports. Now you've transitioned over and over again and again and again, and you drive just about everything in every single race. It seems like every race there's a Ross Chastain entry list that includes your name on it, but you've gotten pretty busy this year driving the Nice truck part-time, driving for Kaulig Motorsports full-time. You've done a couple of Cup Series races as well. I feel like you've probably gotten more experience not having to practice and qualifying just because you've run every race on the track, before the Cup or before the Xfinity race goes. But tell us about your season so far since we've come back from the pandemic. You've got a 6th and a 7th at Atlanta over the weekend, so getting ready to go to Miami this weekend. So talk a little bit about the weekend that was in Atlanta.
Yeah. Man, what a crazy world. I was just talking with a friend this morning, and he brought up like how different the world is since a few months ago, right? Like say March, and how much all of our lives have changed. But through it all, we were able to go to Atlanta and come back with Kaulig Racing and be strong, probably stronger than we were honestly before. So that's really promising. For us as a team, and yeah, to come out of a truck and Xfinity race and NASCAR with a 6th and a 7th and be disappointed because we ran better than that all day in both race cars. It's pretty humbling. It's pretty surreal because even just 1 year ago at Atlanta, we finished 6th in the truck as well, but we were super happy because that was better than we ran all night. We were really at 10th place, and we finished 6th, and now we fought for the lead with Kyle and Chase and Austin, and would have ran. We're legitimately a 2nd or a 3rd place truck, maybe even a winning truck, and we finished 6th, so we're disappointed. So definitely a lot to be proud of, and I've in my career, like you guys said, have came a long way from going to Atlanta in the Xfinity Series and planning on being 3 laps down at the end of the race and being okay with that because that was the plan we had. And I'm glad those days are behind me.
Yep, for sure.
Well, I look at your start as a team, Ross, and it's like you said, at Daytona, it was almost like when we had the shutdown, everybody kind of got a reset. And it feels like a tale of two starts to the season for you guys, because it wasn't that you didn't have speed at Daytona, but, that first little bit there, you had some just awful luck. And then ever since we've come back at Darlington, all of a sudden, it's like it all fell into place, and all of your cars are up front, and all of you guys are just having a great time. Do you have a specific thing that you can attribute that to, or is it just the fact that you had a little more time to kind of go through your stuff and just make sure that you were prepared to come back? I mean, it's hard to there are a number of teams I've looked at like that just didn't have a great start originally to the season, but since we've come back, they've been just knocking them down.
Yeah, it's so hard to quantify what made the difference, but definitely bringing in Bruce Slicker. Chris Rice and I definitely struggle to say put his name together when we're talking too fast. So Bruce Slicker is our crew chief on the 10 car, and pairing him with Alex Yance, who's crew chief on the 11. Alex had a big step up in his career, in his life last year. After we lost Nick, and Nick Harrison, the crew chief on the 11, and that was a big blow. And and it still is surreal to not have Nick around, and to get to know him over the years from the RCR truck days, racing against him, and spending some time with him there at road course driving schools and stuff when he was Ty Dillon's crew chief. Still, I can't talk about crew chiefs at Kaulig Racing without thinking about Nick, and that we still don't have him around. But yeah, bringing in Bruce and his first full-time opportunity as crew chief, has been an engineer in the sport for many years, and got his opportunity now with us, and I love it. I love that Kaulig Racing and Matt Kaulig gave somebody a shot. It's a lot like me last year, taking me with Nutrient Ag Solutions and giving me shots to go in races, and we went one Daytona in July, and it's really cool that they took a chance on a guy like Bruce, and he's got all the credentials. He's super smart. And now as we go through this season of NASCAR racing, we've learned a lot about each other, and it became close. You hear a lot about relationships and stuff, and probably one of the best things is that his wife and my girlfriend have really hit it off, and they actually never even had a TV service at their house that got the races. They had they have young kids, right? So they had all the Disney digital streaming services, and they had HGTV, I think, and different stuff, but they didn't have. So anyway, we got them on YouTube TV. So now they have the NASCAR races in their house, and his wife and kids can watch this race, and that's really brought us closer together, being able to go and hang out with them, and just spend quality time away from the track and away from the race cars. It makes the racing just come a little more natural, and I've really never had that relationship with a crew chief before on that personal level. So I realize now what I'm missing, but the speed in the cars has been building. It doesn't just happen overnight in sport, but we've seen it, right? We're an RCR affiliate. We saw Tyler Reddick go out and win a ton of races last year and win the championship, and we could not compete with him last year. And now, he's not racing anything full time. I feel like that if he was, we would be right there with him. We've really gotten Kaulig Racing cars faster, and it's been a building process ever since. I feel like since I got in the car last year at Chicago, all the way to Atlanta.
Yeah, you mentioned
this pandemic has put us into some late night scenarios with simulators, right? You hear drivers talk a lot about driving these simulators, and Xfinity is second fiddle to Cup. So we get the straps, and we've had some 11 p.m. and midnight sessions on the sim, but it's all worth it whenever you go to the track and you unload. And we actually, since the pandemic, at Bristol and Atlanta, we did a little bit at Darlington, but at Bristol and Atlanta, we did not turn a wedge wrench in any of the Kaulig Racing cars because we were that close. It was just air pressure. So that's for all the racers out there. Y'all know it. That's big.
That is true.
Wow.
And I think it helps too to have Chris Rice, not only as a general manager of the team, but somebody who came from a crew chiefing background, because he also knows what, that kind of stuff, what kind of stuff you guys need in cars and stuff like that, and he can work hand in hand with y'all's crew chiefs on all three of the cars to really make a really good tight knit group. And you talked about your crew chief and you guys being a tight knit group. And Tom and I talk about it all the time. Chris is on our show probably at least once a month. We always brag on him about how great of an organization he's created with Kaulig Racing, because you and Justin and AJ and everybody on that team just seems like you guys are all like a big family, like you guys are all brothers, and you guys are out there and you're a tight knit group, and you share all the information and you do all the things like a family would do, and that kind of seems like that's what kind of an organization that Chris has created, and it makes you guys not feel so much pressure because it's just going out there and having fun as opposed to the pressure of performing out on the racetrack.
It is. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's definitely the most probably unique dynamic of drivers I've ever had, where I feel like we have it all, right? We've got AJ Allmendinger, veteran of the Cup Series, veteran of all forms of motorsports, and has done so much and has stepped back, not necessarily because he wanted to, but just how the cards played out from full-time racing. And he still had that drive to go win, and he's put in the work. And then you've got somebody like Justin Haley, who's coming off his rookie year in the Xfinity Series after only running a little bit in the Truck Series, in the grand scheme of things. And then I'm somewhere in the middle, right? I run a lot of races, but they're not always quality. There's a lot of quantity there and a lot of just learning on my side that I've just tried to put in laps because you can't test anymore. And when I wasn't signed with a Kaulig Racing and a Chip Ganassi Racing, it's tough to learn, because how do you get that opportunity to prove to a team owner without driving? And then they won't let you drive unless you've proven. So it's a tough deal for all drivers right now, and it's never been easy. But we've got all walks of life at Kaulig Racing. And then on the crew side, we've got crew chiefs like Alex Yount, Bruce Slicker, and you've got Chris Rice, who's been in the sport for a long time. We crack jokes on him that he's been around a while and has worked his way up from a mechanic with Elliott Sadler up there in South, I guess, from up in the Virginia area and wherever they all were racing growing up, all the way to building an Xfinity Series empire that is Kaulig Racing now.
It's really amazing. Now, you talk about, you mentioned in that response that you have contracts with Kaulig Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing, and obviously a lot of speculation goes around about what your future is and where your future is and when your future is. And we know that you're committed this year to running for a championship and winning a championship for Kaulig Racing. What is your commitment to Chip Ganassi in terms of the future, and what can you tell us about what the future might hold for Ross Chastain?
Man, I do wish that I could. I wish that we knew. The world's upside down right now with this virus and this pandemic and everything going on. So, our relationship started with a sponsor that brought me in, that was a sponsor of the team, and they wanted me to drive a few times, and a lot of have.
I think Ross is mobile and he's
kept me on. Oh, losing you?
Yeah, a little bit. But I think your point is that you're really not sure what your future is. I
don't know.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would. When people talk about the future and the 48 car possibly being a ride that's open, and I know a lot of people are kind of wanting to kind of push you toward that. Everybody wants to see Ross in the 48. I think people just want to see you in a good quality ride. They all know that you have what it takes to be in a good quality ride. You proved that this year when you subbed for Ryan Newman when he was out with his injuries, and you took the 6 car and made the most of the opportunity to do it. And I think that's what sets you apart from so many different drivers out there, is because it doesn't really matter what kind of vehicle you're in. You can drive a truck, you can drive a car, you can drive whatever. It's not necessarily about the quality of the ride that you're in. It's what you make of the ride that you're in. And I think that's where you got your name, because what you did for JD Motorsports and coming on and going out to Nice Motorsports, taking a chance on starting the season out 4 races in with no points whatsoever, and then getting into the top 20, making the chase, and coming one position away from winning the championship. And then what you've seen with Kaulig Racing this year, I think that's what everybody wants. You're the most likable person in terms of everybody wanting to see Ross succeed and get that good quality ride and prove that you can do so much with so little. And I think that's what everybody's cheering for going forward into 2021 and so on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Obviously, I want to do good. I'm a race car driver. We're pretty selfish and self-centered when it comes to our careers. And, there is a bigger picture to all this of life and stuff. But, yeah, definitely chasing those trophies and race wins and being competitive and being in competition. There's nothing like it, and that's what we're chasing.
So take a couple of minutes and thank all of your sponsors and everybody over at Kaulig Racing that helps get you guys to the racetrack every week.
Yeah, man, and like you guys said, it's a big family, so it starts with Matt Kaulig and the Kaulig companies and Bleed Filter, so they are rocking it, as Matt would say. But installing, gutter protection across the country, opening up more offices, it's crazy to think of that and what they're building with the Kaulig companies. And then, on the 10 car with Nutrient Ag Solutions, the ag company, the ag retailer of the future and close to my family farm as far as we buy from them and have bought from their company for a long time. And then just grew that relationship to the racetrack. And they wanted me to be their guy. Elliott Sadler was it. He wanted to retire and go coach ball and be with his family, and it was a natural fit for us to come together, and Elliott introduced us, and I could never thank him enough. So it hasn't been an easy road, but I wouldn't wish my path on anybody because it's pretty humbling, but it's made the wins and smashing watermelons and being a voice for agriculture, it's made it all that much more special.
Yeah, we certainly want to wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. But hey, listen, Haley was on our show on Thursday, and he called us while he was in the middle of a drag race at Mooresville Dragway in his Camaro. So you got to stay away from that guy because he's a little dangerous, I think.
Yeah, well, he's something. I don't know. He's AJ Allmendinger's son, I think. I'm not sure, but
that's awesome. Ross, best of luck this weekend at Homestead, Miami. I know you guys have a doubleheader coming up, so best of luck in both of those races to all the Kaulig team and Chris and AJ and Haley and everybody else. You guys best of luck this season, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
No problem.
Thanks,
Ross Chastain, everybody. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side of the break with more of the Inside Pass on WSIC.
This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Concord turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
Headlines for Lincoln County and the region. Here's WSIC News. You've tuned in to hear local news, and so have a lot of other people. Your business could be advertising right here. Find out how affordable it can be. Call 704-872-6345, 704-872-6345.
This is Margaret Beveridge with your latest news. The latest Atrium Health Donation Roundup is a combination of 2 weeks beginning May 21st through June 5th. The Donation Center on Moorhead Street is scheduled to accept donations through June 13th. Atrium Health continues to receive generous donations from the community, and for that, they're grateful. The meals continue to come in strong and keep the healthcare heroes well fed. The Salvation Army donated more than 1,000 Krispy Kreme donuts and coffee to teammates at Atrium Health's Carolinas Medical Center on Friday, June 5th. They set up bright and early to catch teammates headed into work and leaving for the day. Teammates were thrilled for the pick-me-up. Sarah Price, patient accounts specialist with Atrium Health, has been making ear savers for teammates. She has made and donated over 200 crochet ear savers and 40 headbands. WSIC is working around the clock to help keep you informed, so visit WSICFM.com as well as our Facebook page, and stay tuned right here for more.
Are you tired of spending your whole weekend cleaning your house? Get your life back with Action Jackson Cleaning Services. Big or small, we can clean them all. Fully licensed and bonded. Call today. Action Jackson Cleaning Services at 704-928-6818.
Listen up, Carolinas. During the Drive Forward event going on now, there's only one Jeep dealer in the Carolinas that has the largest new Jeep inventory. Lake Norman Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We are the only Jeep dealer in the Carolinas that guarantees we will beat any new Jeep deal. It's time to drive forward right now at Lake Norman Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, located at I-77 at exit 28. Online 24/7 at LakeNormanChrysler.com.
I'm Pastor Chris Thompson, and I want to invite you to join me this Sunday at 10 a.m. for the River of Life broadcast on WSIC, where we open God's Word and discover how God's truth transforms our life. That's the River of Life broadcast on WSIC at 10 a.m.
Hey, this is Kyle with WSIC. Tune in Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. for Houston Solutions with me, Kyle Houston. Our community is facing serious problems, and we'll dissect those problems and propose solutions Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is Justin Lofton, and you're listening to the best guys on the radio, the Inside Pass.
Welcome back to the Inside Pass on WSIC. Randy Miller, Tom Baker with you. Ross Chastain was just on our Strutmaster.com hotline. He revealed that Justin Haley is AJ Allmendinger's son. If you missed any of the interview, you can catch it on demand later in the week, later today on the InsidePassLive.com website or Spreaker.com or Spotify or Apple or iTunes or any of the other places where podcasts are available, or even on the Race Chaser radio site. Or if you search Race Chaser Radio on any of those podcasting sites, you will find the episode there as well. Good stuff, as always, from Ross Chastain. I'm so glad that he's doing great and having a great time doing it. And everybody at Kaulig Racing, it seems like they're just having a blast every single day.
Yeah, it's just fun. Like I said, those guys radiate excitement and positive energy, and they just go race for wins.
Mm-hmm.
It's old school over there.
Mm-hmm.
Old school mentality.
Chris comes from an old school type of mentality. I mean, he ran, he for several years he was crew chief at Turner Motorsports, with Steve Turner and everybody over there, and Braun, and the whole organization there with James Busher and running the truck series and all that. So he's got a lot of experience, and he takes that experience and translates it into success on the racetracks. I think he's one of the many people in a general manager role that really wants to motivate his guys on positivity.
Yep.
And you see it all the time in all of his social media posts. He posts every single day on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and just positive quotes and positive messages of the day. And I think he uses that same mentality and institutes that in Ross and Haley, and maybe not so much AJ, because AJ's been a veteran. He's been around the business and kind of knows, but it's almost like Chris has taken both Haley and Ross kind of under his wing and kind of, not really taught them, but just kind of said, it's all about being positive. If you can be positive and be fun, then it doesn't really matter what happens on the racetrack. We'll fix it. Cars can be repaired. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I kind of feel like it's more like Chris. It's more like people of that mentality just sort of
putting
go to
the same
Chris.
people around you.
Justin wanted to go to Kaulig Racing because it was a small team. He didn't, he didn't want to be a part of a huge at that point in his career. And Chris has been able to sort of coach him up, and then you bring in a Ross Chastain who is an old school. He's not on the track to make friends. You can hate some of the moves he makes or like some of the moves he makes, but he's a racer. And AJ is so much passion. And so, all of that kind of works together to fuel that team. It's like everybody feeds off each other. And Kaulig's a great example of an organization that should get a whole lot more publicity than it does, but it doesn't, because we find ourselves so often talking about Joe Gibbs Racing and Kyle Busch and Penske and whoever else was winning a lot of the races. And now Kaulig's finally getting to the point where they're winning and running for wins, and they're forcing us to talk about them and get to know them because they're the ones winning the races.
That's very true.
Which is great.
And they're beating the Cup regulars when the Cup regulars do do, actually show up to the racetrack. So over in the Cup Series side, we had Kevin Harvick win on Sunday at Atlanta. Kurt Busch was the biggest surprise because he finished in the top 10, although he started way down in the back because he actually had to do a drive-through penalty at the start of the race because he failed inspection 3 times. So for him to come back to 10th was a pretty exciting feat in and of itself. On the IndyCar side, Scott Dixon put a whooping on the field in the IndyCar race on Saturday. I mean, that was just a pretty dominant performance.
It was incredible. You see a race, an IndyCar race on a track like Texas that turns out like that once in a blue moon. There was one car and then there was everybody else. I mean, there were some guys that got a few laps, but not many. I mean, Scott just was going, gone, goodbye, as my old baseball announcing idol Ralph Conner used to say. It's just there was no race in the race for the win, and it wasn't a bad race overall. There was just no race for the win because Scott Dixon was that doggone good. Yep. And you can't say anything to demean that or to it just happens. That's every race car driver and every race car on the planet dreams of that kind of a night where you could practically, tip the car upside down and, drive it on the roll cage and nobody could catch you. And that's exactly what Scott Dixon had. He had a winning car, and you don't give a legend like Scott Dixon a car like that and not get a dominating performance. Yeah. And that's just what happened.
That's exactly true.
Incredible.
It was his 47th career win. He's one away from tying for second all time on the list. He has now won at least one race in 16 of his 20-year career, which is obviously Hall of Fame worthy in and of itself.
For sure.
Zach Veach finished 4th, and Oliver Askew, the rookie, finished 9th. So good runs for both of those guys as well.
See, everybody, it was funny, the social media reaction to Zach Veach's 4th. I saw people saying, it was just luck. Really? And then some went, who was that kid? It's like, well, he's only in his 3rd year. I mean, it's like, but see, again, last year, and I've known Zach a long time, and he even said it in his post-race, and I think it's true. I think last year he just pressed too hard. He had a really good freshman year in the IndyCar series, and he may not have been running for wins, but he was competitive. And then last year, it just seemed like everything went wrong and just so much bad luck. And the more you had bad luck, the more you pushed. And the more you pushed, the more you had bad luck. And so this year, again, clean slate, come out of the box, and all of a sudden, 4th place with enough speed to legitimately run, with everybody but Scott Dixon. And then Oliver Askew, I mean, goodness gracious, first start in an IndyCar, top 10. Hello. Yep. The kid, we all knew in Indy Lights that the kid had the talent. It was just a matter of the opportunity. But you can't ever expect someone to jump up into an IndyCar on an oval, no less. Oliver's not an oval kid.
Right.
On an oval, which is not his normal forte, and finish in the top 10. That was extraordinary.
Yep, for sure. We are going to take one more commercial break. When we come back, we'll do our fantasy update and have an update on possibly some changes to the NASCAR schedule in 2021 or some tracks we wish would be on it. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Denver turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
If you've ever used a weed killer, you have to hear this message. I'm attorney Matt Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Recently, one of our lawyers was part of a team that helped secure a verdict for a couple who contracted cancer after using Roundup. If you're a farmer, casual gardener, or anyone else who has used weed killers, you may not know that studies suggest that glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup, may increase the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto allegedly was aware of the risk posed by Roundup, but failed to disclose them to the public. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and you have used Roundup, you could be owed money for damages. Contact us today for a free case review. You pay nothing unless we recover money for you. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Call 844-949-0599. 844-949-0599. Attorney Advertising. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Over 50 offices nationwide. Main office, Orlando, Florida.
For WSIC, I'm Park 46 meteorologist Nick Koser. Those showers and storms come to an end overnight. A low of 71. 84 tomorrow with a 60% chance for afternoon and evening showers and storms. Then quieter Thursday, mostly cloudy, 82. Friday, partly sunny, 85. From the Neighborhood Stormwatch Forecast Center, I'm meteorologist Nick Koser. Be sure to catch Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane today on Fox 46 News at 5.
Thanks for tuning in for local news with WSIC. I'm Margaret Beveridge. A Statesville man is facing charges of attempting to rob someone at an ATM. Jimmy Stroud of Silvermere Drive was charged with attempted common law robbery, breaking and entering a motor vehicle, and misdemeanor communicating threats. A magistrate has set the bond at $20,000. Brandon Moore of Kannapolis was named Appalachian State University's Reich College of Education's 2019-2020 Student Teacher of the Year Award winner in May. Moore was one of 6 finalists for the award. Gaston County announced that its health director, Chris Dobbins, would be stepping down. Dobbins has been the head of DHHS since 2013 and holds a distinguished career with the U.S. Air Force. No reason was given for his resignation. Leaders in Gaston County have been very vocal in resisting North Carolina Governor Cooper's pandemic restrictions and slowly easing on restrictions. Thanks for tuning in to WSIC. I'm Margaret Beveridge from the News Desk.
When you get in your car this afternoon, tune to News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, and get the latest breaking news and weather for your commute.
Hello, race fans. This is Chris Wright. Thanks for listening to these guys. Man, what some great radio hosts. You're listening to the Inside Pass.
And what some great stock car drivers he has employed in Kaulig Racing.
Yes.
We continue to talk about how great he has done with Kaulig Racing. Welcome back to the Inside Pass, WSIC. Randy Miller, Tom Baker with you. Talking motorsports for the next 10 minutes or so. We've got a story that's on Twitter. It's not uncommon for drivers to post how they did in a race after the race is over on Twitter. And so Corey LaJoie thought it would be a cool idea if he posted an image of his heart rate, whatever. It's an app that they use, but it shows heart rate and calories burned and all that kind of stuff. He just said, hey, this is what it is. And he said something with the caption if he had to eat about 28 more Cliff Bars in order to be able to gain all that back or whatever. So Denny Hamlin decided to poke a little fun at him and posted his own. I guess he has the exact same app and posted his heart rate and stuff, which was significantly different in terms of burning more calories and having a lower heart rate. So it turned into a huge, I guess, Twitter war between the two of them that has actually carried on into this morning with more drivers getting involved. Josh Williams and a few other drivers have actually chimed in on that since this story came out. But Denny's caption when he posted his picture was no wonder we couldn't count on you in the fourth quarter. Everybody's like, haha, it's funny, but then it turned into this huge debate. And so Corey responded to Denny's tweet saying, can we switch cars? To which Denny said, well, it wouldn't matter if we switched cars. You're not going to get the answer you're looking for anyway. So in simple, he didn't say exactly that, but that's pretty much what he said.
That's pretty much what he said.
So Corey then came back with his tweet saying that he said, I thought you knew how the age-old equation worked. But I guess not. The equation is center of gravity plus downforce plus horsepower plus money equals victory. So Denny's response was real pressure begins when you have all that and still don't win. It ain't about having fast cars. So then at that point, Daryl Mott, who is Corey's co-host on his podcast, Sunday Fun Day or whatever, his podcast that he has, said, I'm asking, do you think you could get better finishes in his car if he does or than he does? To which Denny responded, never driven it, so I can't speculate. I've driven bad cars. I just kept working. I never complained about what I didn't have. Would he outrun me in mine? So then it has carried over into this huge debate about whether or not a driver who is less fortunate to have a good ride would be able to have the good ride if they had the better equipment than the driver that's in the car now. And it has turned into this huge Twitter war between Denny and everybody. Basically, the only drivers that have responded so far have been drivers that are not fortunate enough to be a Gibbs driver or be in the kind of equipment that Denny is in, saying, well, if you put me in your car, I could beat you in your own equipment. So,
well, first of all, I mean, really?
We only have 7 minutes, Tom.
I mean, well, I don't need 7. First off, we're having a Twitter war over somebody's heart rate.
Right, exactly.
I just want to lay that out, that this all started because of somebody posting their heart rate. And it's now become this sort of, again, this is this is what we've seen for 2 weeks, right? We don't have, you have, we don't like you blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah.
Look, I mean, if you just let's do a case study. Ryan Preece drove for JD Motorsports. Ryan Preece learned how to drive an Xfinity car at JD Motorsports. Ryan Preece then took what he learned from driving the car that couldn't win and applied it to the car that could. What happened? He won. Okay, now, if you look at other case studies, there are drivers who have driven the best equipment and haven't won. So is that because the drivers weren't good? Or is it because, for whatever reason, the situation just didn't work out? I think we have to be careful, because if Corey LaJoie, here's the problem with, and I say this all the time about young drivers, because I see this in late models, for example. Daddies will take their young kid who's had no experience in late models and put them in, the absolute top equipment. Here's the danger of that. If you don't win, it's probably not the car.
That's very true.
And I think that's what Denny was saying is that, just because you have a fast car, not everybody who gets in Joe Gibbs cars has won. Not everybody who gets in Rick Hendrick's cars or Roger Penske's cars has won. Does that make them bad drivers? Well,
right.
I don't know.
How many championships has Denny won? I mean, he's won a lot of races, but he's never won a championship.
But that's not what the...
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
We're fighting on... Corey was the first one to sort of, but I don't have what you have.
Right.
Well, look, as
so
far
earn
as
it.
I'm concerned, I think Corey has made the most of what he has.
Yeah.
And so, I think Denny's joke, it felt like a basketball joke. He said third and fourth quarter. I'm assuming Corey was in the league and whatever, and it was a basketball joke. I don't think it was, I don't think that it warranted that kind of a comeback.
Which has now been a 24-hour war that has gone on forever.
I think Corey. Honestly, I just think Corey got butthurt over something, and he shouldn't have.
Probably so.
Just let it go, dude.
All right, so Fantasy NASCAR continues on. Nick picked Joey Logano for the race on Sunday, and Joey finished 10th. So Nick maintains his lead by, I can't do math in my head that quick, 13 points or so over myself. I picked Kurt Busch. Not knowing what was going to happen, but he ended up finishing 6th. So kudos to me for being able to go out on a limb with that one. Jacob picked Chase Elliott, who finished 8th. Tom picked Kevin Harvick, who won the race. So Tom got to gain some points on Sir Silman.
I'm only like a race and a half back now.
And Christopher Bell finished 18th, which was, of course, Red's contractually obligated pick. So from Martinsville's tomorrow night, by the way, for those of you who we completely forgot to talk about that, but the first night race in Martinsville history takes place tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on FS1. Nick DeGroot and Jacob decided to scheme each other and take Denny Hamlin as their picks. I am picking Joey Logano for my pick, and of course, contractually obligated Red takes Christopher Bell.
And he confirmed it last night when he produced the league lab.
So, Tom, who is your pick for tomorrow night's Martinsville race?
Well, I mean, it's Martinsville, right? So who do we pick for a Martinsville race? I believe what I see. And I believe right now that I believe it's going to be a Hendrick car, and I believe it's going to be a Hendrick car. There's only one Hendrick car that I bet the farm on right now. Chase Elliott wins, and I get, 10 free boneless wings at Hooters on Monday.
Yes, Chase took advantage of his yesterday, so he already posted that he did his. So we talked since we last was on the show, Nashville was added to the schedule for 2021, which has gotten some people excited. I mean, it's a super speedway, not the fairgrounds, but nonetheless, there's some other tracks that NASCAR kind of owns or has a relationship with that could be added to the schedule. Not saying any of these will. But everybody is wanting a new short track, so obviously South Boston is the first place that comes to mind because it's owned by Pocono, with the Matco Incorporated, which owns Pocono Raceway. And a lot of people want one of the Pocono dates at least to go away, so some people want South Boston to be added to the schedule. Of course, we know North Wilkesboro is owned by SMI. We're not going to talk about that because we know that's not going to happen. Iowa is another short track that seats 30,000 seats and is an ISM track, so we don't know what's going to happen with Iowa going forward because they pulled all their races this year because of the coronavirus. A street course in Detroit or Chicago. Chicago is actually being rumored if the Chicagoland Speedway does not reopen next year, which has been a big rumor. NASCAR would still want to stay in the Chicago market, so a street course would be a good. I have no idea. I'm just reading what I wrote, sir. IMSA and NASCAR own. Or NASCAR owns IMSA, which owns Road Atlanta and Sebring. So those are two other road course possibilities. And my personal favorite is Lucas Oil Raceway, which is owned by the NHRA. I would love to see the Trucks and Xfinity go back there, but that's just me.
Well, I'd like to see Cup.
Or Cup too.
I would
love to see all of them
there.
So that's what I pick. But,
yeah, I'm not. I'm not buying the street course thing until we get the new car in 22.
Yeah, that's true. All right, our thanks to Ross Chastain for joining us. Next week, Adam Alexander from Fox Sports 1 will join us. We're excited to talk to him about that. So for Tom Baker, I'm Randy Miller. We'll see you Thursday on Motorsports Madness. Tomorrow night's Martinsville. Have a great week and enjoy the race.
This is News Talk 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, and 1400 AM. WSIC Statesville.
Good afternoon.